50%.
Okay.
Look, right now, Dallas is in a position where they've got to win 4 of the next 5 games to get this championship. That is going to be very hard against a team that so far is 78-20 this year. But they got to break it down into smaller parts. We hear coaches talk about that all the time.
Yep.
So 2 games, let's just talk about 1 game. They have to win game 3. That obviously has got to be imperative for them. Jaylen Brown came out after game 2 and said, we played harder than them. That is pretty crazy to come and just say it out loud at the end
He was right.
of an NBA Finals game. He was right.
Yeah.
And that can't happen if you're Dallas in game 3. And look, I think a lot of things are going to change with this team. Yes, they've been a great road team, and we've talked about that a lot, Skip, but there is something about playing at home in an NBA Finals where maybe your younger guys were a little nervous with all of the event and pomp and circumstance going on. They were in a hostile environment. Now they're at home. They got the home crowd. Kyrie Irving, I was surprised. I expected Kyrie not to be bothered by the Boston crowd because he's in such a different place in his life, but he was.
He was.
He clearly was.
Agreed.
He made that comment after game 1, which I just don't know what he was thinking. And then in game 2, we saw him going back and forth with the fans, which he had specifically talked about not doing. So I think he will be more comfortable. He's law of averages. He's going to start hitting some of those open shots, right? The role players have to play better. That is going to be the key for them. Look, Boston has not had to double Kyrie or Luka, but they have been shading them inside. And what they've been doing is leaving those role players open outside the arc. And they're just not paying those shots off. Luka has 8 threes in this series. The entire rest of the team has 5. That can't happen. So for Dallas to win, forget 2 games, just 1 game, they are going to have to play better, play more together. The role players are going to have to play better. Kyrie is going to have to play better. But all of that is against a team that has so many components and is so overwhelming. We talked before the series, Key, about the depth that Boston has in the top 5, top 6 players. And it feels like Jason Kidd is playing with a pair and that Joe Mazzulla is playing with a royal flush, right? He's got players at every position who can shoot. They can go 5 out. And that is really hurting the way Dallas, who has had a great defense, and we go back and forth on this all the time, Key, Dallas, who's been playing great defensively for the last 20 games of the season in the playoffs, they can't stop them the way they have stopped other teams because they can't collapse in on Tatum and Brown because they've just been kicking. That drive and kick game has been so strong for Boston. They've upped their drives by so much in this series, and it's because Dallas can't defend that. So I just think the road for them is very tough for Dallas here on out. I do think they have a shot to win game 3, but they've got to make some major changes.
Yeah, it is extremely tough. You know, you said 30%, I'm a little bit higher. I give them 50-50. That sounds like a cop-out.
2 games?
Well, because anything could happen. We're talking about 2 games, right? And I'm with you.
I thought you were going to go like 10%.
No,
No,
I'm not Paul.
Paul would be 0%.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm a lot like you, Rachel. I understand we're talking about 2 games, but from an athlete's perspective,
talk about
one game. Just game 3 is a must win. As I said to you yesterday, if they lose game 3, they might as well just forget it.
Unless they sort of have a ceremonial win in game 4 just to say we did this.
But if you win game 3, most likely the Celtics will drop game 4. And then they'll go home and close it out in 5. And everybody
says duck boat.
Yeah, and duck boat, and you can start your vacation at that point in time. But that being said, though, you got to think about it. The Celtics haven't lost 2 games in a row but 4 times this year. That's it. Let alone losing 4 out of 6. Okay? That's not who they are. I like everything Rachel said about the Mavs and Kyrie and the pressure and feeling a certain way being in the stadium and playing in there. They get an opportunity to go home. Kyrie certainly will play better because he doesn't have the pressure. Even though he may have the bravado walking around in Boston making you feel that way, internally, you could tell, as I said the other day, Skip, that there's something about his uncertainty when he goes to shoot the basketball. There's a hesitancy. Instead of just doing it, going to the cup, it's almost like, well, I don't know if I will. And I think that played into it. He's the main focus of the team. The reason they got there is because of him. I understand Luka is the star, but Kyrie's the leader. They looking for Kyrie to do everything to get them going, and that wasn't necessarily the case. Luka's been solid except the turnovers and big shots when they needed it most. Now, look, when you looked at game 2 in Boston, it wasn't like Boston ran away with the game. It could have gone either way at any moment. So they still have an opportunity and a chance to win Game 3. I just don't think that they will, although they're favored by 1.5 today. Once they say Porzingis is going to play, I think it's going to switch. I think Boston will take the lead in being favored.
Okay, so you're saying you give them a 50% chance, but you give them no chance to win Game 3. So
I give them a 50% chance.
Okay.
But they got to win Game 3. They got to. If they don't, it's over. Ain't nothing to talk about.
If they do, would you go up to a 60% chance that they would also win the second game?
I would. If they won Game 3, then all of a sudden Boston is looking a certain way. They looking kind of over their shoulders like, wait a minute, man, we had a 2-0 lead. Now we just let them win one. Okay. Now the Mavs going to get that confidence that they solely was lacking in Boston. They were lacking confidence. They looked like they were scared out there on the court at times throughout the game. That's what they look like.
Okay, I'm going to go back to every point you made because they're all valid, and more valid. It did look like royal flush versus a pair of aces because that's basically what it boiled down to. I got you. And coming off the bench was a sixth card in Porzingis in Game 1, and he is a huge difference-making X factor if, in fact, he can go tomorrow night, and I'm not sure he can go. We'll wait and see what they tell us. It may be a game-time decision. And then if he goes, is it still iffy? Is it still barking and biting him, his calf muscle? I don't know. We'll see. But here's what I saw in Game 1 and 2. In Game 1, the Mavericks were up a point after Boston had gone 1 of 7 on its first 7 three-point shots, missing 5 in a row on one single possession in which, to Jaylen Brown's point, they got every offensive rebound. Offensive rebound. Another shot, miss. They missed 5 straight threes on one possession. Dallas is up a point, and in comes the unicorn. And all of a sudden, he has the greatest stretch of his life, of his existence on this planet.
100%.
He goes berserk and scores 18 in 13 minutes. And I look up, and it's a 20-point game at halftime after Boston had gone on a 25-9 run. Well, the game's over. And I know they fought back, scratched and clawed, and got it down to 8 in the third quarter. But the game was over at halftime. Then Game 2 comes around, and Boston misses 29 three-point shots at home and makes only 10. They are begging to be beaten, and for whatever reason, which I'll get into, Luka was not right. And even though the Dallas Mavericks somehow held Boston in the fourth quarter to 22 points, that's pretty good. Maybe Boston's holding Boston to 22. Maybe they're just missing shots. Maybe there was some defense played by the visiting team. They scored 22 in the fourth, while Luka, who I considered going into the series the best closer in basketball, if not Kyrie is 1A, and Luka in the fourth quarter goes 1 for 6, misses both of his threes, and has 2 excruciatingly bad turnovers that lead immediately to runouts the other way. You're going to lose. You're just, even though it came down to a foul that I should have been called on 2 different players that maybe would have cut the lead to 3 with 50 seconds left, but still, you had chances in Game 2. Boston is saying here, and here again. And Luka goes 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter and finally makes a late 3-point play. Is that it? Okay, so I saw enough there that I could say, yeah, I'm just 50-50. I'm with you. It's a 50% chance. I give them a decent shot of winning both games because they are highly capable of winning both games.
They got to get 1 before they can get 2.
Okay, they got to get 1. Okay, to your point, Kyrie's just got to turn back into Kyrie because my problem with what I saw in Game 2 in Boston was Luka literally dribbled the air out of the basketball and out of the offense. It got harder and harder to watch, and I give Drew Holiday high credit for the job he was doing on Kyrie, and I give Jaylen and Jason and Derek and everybody else the job they're switching off on Luka, and they're just driving him a little nuts.
Yeah.
And after a while, he's just throwing frustrated turnovers over his head, behind his back, and it's just silly after a while. It's hard to watch. But the point was, I think he did say, I'm going to go road warrior. I'm going to win this game by myself. And against that defense, you cannot win it by yourself. And Keyshawn, if you just keep dribbling and dribbling and dribbling into the lane, deeper and deeper and deeper, and the clock's going down 5, 4, 3, 2, and at the last second you say, oh, Porzingis, I can't shoot this. I'll kick it, right?
What he's got to do, what they should do, is Kyrie should get the basketball first and foremost, not last.
I'm there.
He should get the ball first and foremost at the start of the clock, not at the end of the clock. Because at that point, if he's getting at the end of the clock, he's not giving it to the third dude. Now he's going to bounce the ball to the airs out of it.
Okay, but how many times do we see Derrick Jones Jr. catch a pass out on the flank, like looking up at the clock, like now you want me to shoot this?
Yes,
like a late desperation pass. I got to shoot this?
Luka's dribbling it at 30-something%, and Kyrie's dribbling it at 20-something%.
Yeah,
they just
34 to 21.
Yeah, 34 to 21. And that's basically it's over with at that point. It's me and you and nobody else.
But that's partly because those other guys aren't making shots. Luka was pushed to the point.
But I got to get into a rhythm, though.
I get it. I'm just saying those guys have to get that trust from your superstars, you have to show that you have earned it.
But I can't show you, though, Rachel, if you ain't giving me an opportunity.
Yeah,
if you give me an opportunity, and I only know this because I've been around so many NBA players in my life. I haven't played in the NBA game, but I played enough basketball. If you giving me the basketball with 2 seconds to go, I don't even get a chance to get the ball,
That's not what was happening early in the game. And look, I think that this is going to be a very interesting couple days for Jason Kidd. You guys talk about strategy, who has the ball in their hands first, all of that kind of stuff. We saw in some of these playoff series great X and O head-to-head coaching matchup, right? We saw in the Pacers-New York series, we're going to defend him this way. We're going to do that. We saw in the Wolves-Denver series some great adjustments from the coaches from game to game. We had some great coaching duels so far in this playoffs. We haven't had that in this series so far because, again, Joe Mazzulla just is holding so many more cards than Jason Kidd is right now. But this is where I think Jason's going to earn his money in the next couple of days. Yes, it's about strategy and who has the ball when and how often do they pass it. But I also think that Jason's greatest strength is the way he relates to players, can fire them up, and because he is a Hall of Fame point guard, the respect that they have for him. He is going to be able to, and I know he is doing it, sitting down with Kyrie Irving over these couple days and really talking to him in a way that Kyrie respects about how he can be better. He's going to talk to the role players and talk to them about how they can be better, not only how they can play more comfortably, but how they can grab those opportunities. He's going to talk to Luka about not dribbling the air out of the ball and not being careless, even when he's frustrated.
And careless, I don't know what that was.
Well, that was frustration. And by the way,
I know that. Yeah, I mentioned that yesterday.
And we keep saying it, but we can't gloss over it. Boston is defending those guys so hard. They are making Kyrie and Luka work so hard on every play. And the way that they're making them defend, you cannot hide on any of those Boston players. So Kyrie could hide occasionally against some of these series that he's played so far. And by the way, I think Kyrie has played really elevated defense over these last 2 months. But if he had to take a play off here or then energy-wise, he could. He cannot do that against Boston. So
no, and Luka's got to play defense. He's got to play defense.
And they're making him do it on every single play.
And so that uses a lot of that energy that he's probably been accustomed to preserving for the offensive end throughout the playoffs and throughout the regular season. Now you got to play. You got 4 or 5 dudes that you got to guard. And when they switch, you in trouble at that point because it's not what you want to do. They get by you. The first thing you do is start trying to reach, looking for help.
He has stolen the ball pretty consistently.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 or 3 steals if I'm knocking down 26 points.
Yeah.
You can have 2 or 3.
No, I got it.
Here's my Kristaps Porzingis update for you after being there the other night. So we asked after the game, we asked Joe Mazzulla, he was asked, what was your percentage? What are your worry that Kristaps won't be in game 3? He said 0%. 0% worry he won't play. So they are operating as if he's playing. Now, I talked to Kristaps afterward, and I've been around Kristaps since his days in New York, and he was a little bit more hedgy, not about playing, but just about his comfort level and how the leg felt.
They did have to get an MRI.
They had to get an MRI
yesterday.
and everything.
Yeah.
But he did say very clearly, he's like, I will die out there, right? We all saw the quote.
Understand.
The thing about Kristaps Porzingis that I don't think people who haven't spent a lot of time around him understand is he loves the bright spotlight. It's not an accident that he was so happy in New York. He loves it. And just because he is not relating to American culture the way Anthony Edwards does, where you're like, man, that kid's so charismatic, he's amazing. Kristaps Porzingis loves playing under the lights. He loved it in New York. He didn't like that it was a smaller, not small, but smaller market in Dallas. And he loves being back in Boston. And I think he will rise to that.
Okay, and now will he love being back in Dallas where he got spurned by the Mavericks, where he got shipped out, right? I mean, will that raise the level a little bit?
It might make him a little something more to play for.
Last quick point about Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
I agree. I need to see him push a button this time. Some button, some way, somehow. Maybe they just push the basketball. Maybe he gets Luka just to push it up the floor before Boston could get set. But Paul laughs at me when I bring up Jaden Hardy, but every time he gets in the game, he just fearlessly starts scoring points. In game 1, he scored 13 in 8 minutes. And there's this guy named Tim Hardaway Jr. who used to be like microwave, right? I don't know whatever happened to him. Could you push his button tomorrow night and he could come in and give you 14, 15, 16 points off the bench?
Skip.
A flurry. Yeah.
Did you watch game 2?
I did.
He did not play.
Yeah, I understand. DNP coach's decision, right? I don't get it, though. Do you get it?
No, I mean, obviously they feel like he doesn't add anything. Because in game 1, the only reason why I think he played because somebody got in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But once upon a time, as you well know.
I do.
Whew. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.